Welcome to Hypothetical Elephant. Today we're going to go over the top 3 rides that we wish would come back
and the top 3 that we wish would change
or go away.
For good. So let's get hypothetical. So, we've went to Universal Studios in Orlando for a while now. We've been there since 2005 up to now 2022. We've seen a lot of things go away. We've seen a lot of things change. Some for the better, some for the worse. And so we've come up with top 3 that we really loved when they were here that went away, we feel, too soon.
Top 4.
Top 4.
Actually,
we added
one.
Yeah, we added one
since we.
And 3 of them that we feel that were failed, that could have been a lot better, could have been something else. So we're gonna get into that. But do we want to start with the bonus, or do we want to go like?
No, let's go with the ones we'd like to bring back.
Okay. So top 4 that we would like to bring back.
Number 4 is Terminator T2. The little it wasn't really a ride; it was more of a show.
Had the live actors.
Yes.
Animatronics.
It was live actors mixed with screen.
3D screen.
And then mixed with, props on the side like, Terminator shooting. Now, they did bring in the Bourne Identity.
Which is awesome.
Which is a really good replacement. But it would be nice to have that T2 back.
Both.
Another show. Because it would be tough. Now, they could always update T2 to something, They could update the animatronics. They could update, some of the story.
And it was really cool that you were able to... You started in the queue, and once you got into this big room, you watched this show from Skynet that was trying to convince you on their ways, and then the live actors came out.
Yeah.
What were the characters?
Well, the live actors were from Skynet.
The live actors came out, interrupted the show there, and then we pushed the whole crowd through to the room where you actually watched the rest of the T2. So awesome experience there that you don't necessarily get at Bourne. You don't get that ending like that inside the queue line, but still really cool. It's got a lot of different features that kind of... It's a different feel from T2. So both of those inside the park would really, I feel like, would do well separately, but I guess they just made room for it for the new Bourne by taking away T2. But I think that it still would have a place in the park.
All right, the number 3, it was more of an attraction. It wasn't really a ride. That we wish they would bring back would be Twister.
One of our favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Like I said, it was a walk-in. You walk through, you watch the video, you went in, and it was like of the house that was torn up by a tornado.
It was kind of like you were almost on the set for special effects for the movie.
Yes.
Because you see like the lights and stuff sitting up on the walkthrough. You go into the room where they talk about how it felt to make the movie. They talked about how it felt so real sometimes that they felt like they were actually in a twister. And then they talk about how there was actually twisters going on while they were filming. So really cool and stuff like that.
And then the actual show itself. In the background you could see the flashing of light. The flashing of lightning. And you can see it just like building up like into a tornado.
At a perfect movie setting.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Now, it wasn't the greatest effects, and they probably could, if they was to ever bring it back, they could update the effects. Yeah, but they did have an actual spinning tornado vortex.
And you had the fire come up.
Yeah, it had fire, when it hit the gas pumps.
Best feature, you had cow flying.
Cow flying. You had like in the film, when the movie,
the drive-in
theater, it's split up, it breaks off and stuff. And then at the end of it, your whole section drops.
Because you're in like a little dugout kind of stand with everybody in there. So you're not in like a cart. It's not a ride. And it's not really necessarily like a big show, but you're in this little dugout kind of thing. And the whole thing just drops at the end with the twister. So it's awesome. But we wish it would come back. It was one that we did every single time we went there.
Loved it.
Loved it.
All right, number 2. Now this one here, it's still
a little outdated.
It's outdated, but so are the other ones. But it was still. I mean, it's still sort of intact because all they did with the ride was rethemed it.
Yep.
But it was Back to the Future. Now it's The Simpsons.
And I think they did well with The Simpsons. It's a good ride. Still probably not anywhere near the top 5 of the park, but it's still a good ride. It's just we always loved the Back to the Future movies, so in our books, it's one that we'd like to see come back just because we enjoyed it. It had a cool theme. You walk through, you got to watch Dr. Brown talking to you about something going wrong, and you had Biff stole one of the DeLoreans, so you had to chase him. So it was really cool, and it was something that we wish would come back. Anything else on that one?
I mean, that one there, the only thing I wish they would do on those, even in The Simpsons, I wish they need to blow some more, air conditioning through there, because if you get motion sickness, it will make you make you sick. It's a little warm.
And some of the queue line is outside too. And
yeah,
it's one
so
of those
you
that
get
gets
hot.
backed up.
You get hot.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, even The Simpsons, the screen part is cool.
Yes.
It's just like I said,
one of
I'm
the
not a
best
big fan of
screens in the
Simpsons.
park
Yeah.
for sure.
But they could bring that one back, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I think if you instead of making that a screen ride, if you could turn that into a roller coaster
Or something more like Spider-Man or Transformers.
Yeah, a roller coaster, or like one of the Spider-Man type rides with the
physical
DeLorean.
So,
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
And now, number 1 that we wish would come back. This
One
is
of our
probably the best
favorites.
ones of all time.
One of our favorites.
Probably my favorite ride in the entire park, period, at Universal, was
the Jaws ride.
Jaws. So it was the Amity boat tour. You walked through and you had this huge boat shack kind of deal. You walked through, it had all the props from movies and all kinds of good stuff inside of the queue line you got to look at. And then once you get to the lines, you lined up, got into this boat, and you go through the ride. You had massive animatronic Jaws that would come up. And really cool thing that I liked about this ride that you don't see that much anymore on the rides is the actor. So they had a worker that was an actor there on the ride giving you the tour on the boat, and they were just into it all the time.
Acting like they were shooting guns.
Yeah, it made it feel like you were
really
really in it. And then you go into a super dark little boat barn, I guess you could call it. And it got pitch black, especially if you rode it at nighttime.
Night was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Especially they had fire come across the water, and it was
It was
really
crazy.
cool.
So then once you finish the ride, it's like a celebration because you killed Jaws, and it was just awesome theme, awesome section.
Jaws.
But unfortunately, they had to get rid of it to make way for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Universal. So that kind of went away. But that is definitely probably the top ride that we wish would come back because it had so much character to it. You were outside in the actual park with the actual nature. You had the animatronics that were awesome, the special effects that were awesome, the actor there was awesome. Just a lot of good features that kind of tied in together that made it the best ride to me.
And honestly, I would be happy just bringing Jaws back. I mean, the other 3 are good, but I mean,
Definitely.
I would if they would just bring Jaws back, I'd be happy.
Yep.
I mean,
And there's plenty of space.
because it was one of those rides too you could get on. It was covered, if you wanted to get out of the heat, but you could still be, outside. It had a little, you got wet
got a
just
little
a
wet,
tad,
yep.
but
Got
not
some mist in.
overbearingly bad.
Yep.
So
It was
now we're going to move on to something that might be a little. I don't know. Some people like the ride. Some people don't.
Controversial a little,
Yeah.
I guess. This is just our opinion.
Yes.
So you don't have to like it, but
And-
this is kind of how we feel.
And the number 3, the one on we have as number 3 on here is really. I mean, you see on all the Facebook groups and all that stuff. It's really
Depressing.
It's dogged on quite a bit.
It could have been
They could have done so much with this
exactly.
ride.
It's something that is super popular, but they just failed on the execution.
And
of
the queue on this ride is pretty
it's great.
good.
It's great.
I mean,
Yeah, the
queue-
walkthrough is awesome.
The walkthrough is awesome.
But it's just they failed on the execution of the ride itself.
And the ride is Fast and Furious supercharged. Honestly, in my opinion, it's a ride sort of like the party. It's a party bus, sort of like the Kong ride. It's in a bus,
very close to Kong.
and it's a screen just like Kong. But they had done one in Hollywood, in California that was a 3D ride. This one here is not a 3D; it's just regular 2D.
Yeah.
And it's just it just
You
looks
just
so
don't,
fake.
and you don't really feel like you're in it like
Yeah.
you're supposed to. You know, we talked about it, and we just feel like they could have done better by maybe making it like the Mummy,
An indoor roller coaster.
indoor roller coaster, being in a car, you know,
yes.
or something. Of
They
that
could have
matter.
done so much more with this ride.
Or
that
maybe
it's-
like a Hagrid's with the props in the roller coaster
mean,
or the ride,
yeah.
or even like a Spider.
To me, just the name Fast and Furious says roller coaster.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
So definitely failed on that one, and
Yeah.
that's probably the number one that we feel that should be changed
Yes.
or updated. You know, based on ride itself.
All right, number 2 is really, I mean, the ride is perfect the way it
Yes.
is, but they rethemed this ride in California.
Yep.
And if they added some of the stuff they added in California to this ride and then left some of the rest of
Yep.
it alone, it would be it'd be more perfect. That would be Jurassic Park River Adventure.
Yep.
Over there, I think they've changed it to Jurassic World. It's got little screen things.
Yep.
Um,
And you know, they've added the Velocicoaster, which is themed by Jurassic World. So you know, you see Owen and Claire from the newer movies, but you still don't have that Jurassic World feel in the Jurassic Park River Adventure ride. That if they could update it, add some, you know, maybe the water dinosaurs.
Well, and, you know, and the animatronics probably need to be updated a little.
Yeah.
Some of the animatronics in the water need to be updated.
And the Tyrannosaurus Rex at the end doesn't really do much movement. I know the one in Hollywood Studios, it actually comes out at you a
well, I
little
think
bit.
the one in
and
Hollywood. I think the one in Hollywood has.
It has the Adonis Rex and the
yeah,
Tyrannosaurus
T-Rex,
Rex.
yeah.
And at the end, they kind of go to fight, and you go down the hill. At this one, you just see the Tyrannosaurus head.
It just pops
and you go
over and
down.
you go down. You know,
There's
so-
no real opening of the jaws or nothing like crazy that they could really update there and make this ride a lot better.
But like I said, if they never touched it, it still would be good.
Still a great ride.
But I mean, you know, they could add some other stuff that make it, you know, not just retheme it, but just change it a little bit to update
Yeah.
it. You know, maybe some new animatronics.
If you're not familiar with what we're talking about, go search the Jurassic World ride River Adventure at Hollywood Studios, and you'll see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just, if it could be updated like that, it would be perfect at Universal.
All right, our
Orlando.
number 1 is sort of it's just depressing, right?
Honestly,
I
this one-
wrote it twice.
This could probably be a good setting, good area for the T2 to come back, maybe.
or something else. I mean, and even the queue for this ride is still good. You know, it's got some good moments in it, but the ride
The entrance
itself,
is pretty cool.
the ride itself is just, I think
Not
it's
as-
horrible.
yeah,
I
not
mean,
as-
I think it's right there with Fast and Furious as being maybe one of the worst rides
Yes.
in the park, and that's the Jimmy Fallon race through New York. Love Jimmy Fallon,
Yep.
but it just
They just
missed the
just
mark.
like
It's
Fast and
another
Furious, they
screen
just
ride.
failed the execution part.
Yeah, it's another screen ride. I think they're they're trying to do too much with the screens.
Yes. Well, me and my fiance were actually talking about that as well. Is that, you know, with the older rides, even like the old Kong ride, which I have no part of that, never got to ride it, you know, way out of my time. But the animatronics and the feel of actually being on the set, even with the old, what was it, Earthquake, or it was called Disaster? Which ride was that? Where you filled on the set with Frank
It was-
Kincaid.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So that ride, you know, those rides, you felt like you were in the attraction itself. Jaws, you felt like you were in it. And there was a lot more animatronics and props. But with the newer rides, you're getting a lot of screens, which probably saves them money, but it just takes away a lot of the feel of being in the set itself. And it feels like you're just more so watching instead of being in it.
I mean, there's really not a whole lot I can say about the ride.
Yeah.
It's just
not
I
a
just-
good.
I won't ride it at all, and it's one of those too. If you get motion sickness, which I'm pretty good without, you know, I don't get motion sickness if I, you know, but it's just one of those rides that, you know, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, it's corny, it's goofy,
It's just not
like I said, the little queue part of it, you know, while you're waiting is pretty
nice.
cool. It's got
And
the
the
singers.
gift shop's pretty cool, but
It's got hashtag the bear, you know.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, honestly, it took the place of Twister, and I would rather have Twister, you
Yes.
know, still there other than this ride.
So now that's our top three that we would come back.
And we got
top,
two bonus.
top three that we wanted to change, but there's two bonus, and these are more so actual parts of the park.
Rethemed.
Yes, whole sections of the park that we think could be rethemed and be a lot better for today's generation.
Number two retheme would be Poseidon's Adventure. It's you know, the outside of it is awesome looking, the wall. I mean, you know, you have to do it at least once if you go to Universal or Islands of Adventure.
It's a little show.
It's a show. It's pretty cool.
It is cool.
But I think there's other things they can do with that would make it, you know,
yeah. Because
better.
I noticed, and we were in July, and I noticed that we walking through there, and you go from Harry Potter, which is packed full of people, and then you go into this area that's dead.
The only time there's a lot of people is when they're going from Seuss to Harry Potter.
To Harry Potter, yeah.
I mean, that's
and you have two shows there. So you have the Poseidon's Fury show, and then you have the
Stunt Show's not there no more.
Okay, well you had another show, so now you're down to just that one there, and it's just kind of outdated. You know, there's not really.
And they actually closed it down not too long ago to refurbish it, and I mean they missed the mark. They could have probably changed it to something a little better. I mean, even the graphics and stuff were still, you know, at the end of the show were still.
Just could easily be rethemed to something more attractive, I guess. And number one.
Yeah, number one retheming that is, would be Toon Lagoon.
Yeah.
I think if you could bring that to the newer age of, I mean, this would be a perfect park if you was doing you know, like Kung Fu Panda or, I mean, you know, something different. I mean, they would have to redo all the. I mean, even if you wanted to do like a Lord of the Ring thing, kind of, you know, park there because it fits sort of that kind of that stuff. But I think they really could have redone this whole area to something better.
The newer generations, you know, even myself, don't know those characters that well anymore, and it's kind of getting farther away from the younger ones coming up. So it's just something that if you rethemed it to, you know, more current, I guess you could say, characters, it would bring more attraction to that area. There's a lot of good stuff there, but it's just where it's kind of outdated that
it's just pretty much
people are interested in.
It's just pretty much a walkthrough from, you know, like I said, from Seuss to Harry Potter or Wizard World.
And most of the parts of the park, you walk around, you have the restaurants that are themed to that area, and they're packed full of people. You go to Seuss Landing, you have the trolley that comes through, you know, a lot of things like that. You go to this side, and it's just dead.
Yeah, it does have one of the better restaurants that a lot of people love, the Mythos.
Yes.
But that's really about it right now. I mean, other than it's got the water fountain that you can get, you know, wet there, and it's got some shops, and that's really about it. I mean, Poseidon's, to me, you gotta, if it's the first time you're going, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
But once you've done it, I mean, it's not really something.
It's not something you want to go back to 20 times. So. But that's our, you know, two little bonus sections that we think could possibly be changed. But that's all for our video. If you have any that you feel in the comments below, tell us that you think would be a top 3 that you would want to come back, or a top 3 that you would like to see change. Just let us know that. But that's all for our video. Please hit that like and subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you can keep up with more of our videos. We have a lot more coming, especially what to do with a toddler. So stay tuned. Anything else? See you in the next video.